Flat bottom V sharpening is an alternative to the traditional radius of hollow. Instead of having to compromise between bite and glide like you would with radius of hollow, flat bottom V is supposed to give you the best of both worlds. A deep enough bite when you need it, and a shallower glide than you might expect from your normal radius of hollow sharpening. This is the exact reason I decided to try flat bottom V sharpening, and then finally I compare against Sparx flat bottom V fire rings. Quick note, if you are totally new to sharpening and could use a refresher on what radius of hollow means, aka that traditional type of sharpening, check out my immediately linked video below, get caught up, and then come back here. So over the time period that I've had my Sparx machine, I've most often used the 9/16 of an inch sharpening. It's the best compromise I can comfortably make between bite and glide, but sometimes I do miss a little bit of edge on a push-off for certain tight turns. Several people I know swear by flat bottom V, so I finally broke down and tried it. Flat bottom V refers to the shape of the sharpening. Instead of the semicircle that characterizes a radius of hollow, flat bottom V is characterized by a flat portion of the blade sandwiched by two fangs. Those two fangs respectively give you, obviously, your inside and outside edges. In addition to their traditional radius of hollow rings, Sparx offers what they call flat bottom V fire rings. The shape differs slightly from a standard flat bottom V, but it's pretty close. When looking at the exact nuance between the shapes, it's kind of like a flattened radius. It still resembles having two fangs, but it's kind of the exact cross between a radius of hollow and a traditional flat bottom V. Following is my experience both trying out the traditional flat bottom V and the Sparx fire rings. FBV feels different almost immediately. On the positive side, you get the bite you need and expect while benefiting from some extra glide. I think when comparing to a radius, a good way to describe it would be, say, the bite of a 1/2 inch hollow with the glide of a 5/8 inch hollow. That's not exact, and don't hold me to it, but it's a good way to think about it. Then it comes down to the part you might need to get used to. With a radius of hollow, you can gradually work into the amount of bite that you have. Imagine going through your hockey stop. As you adjust your blade angle and apply pressure to your edge, you slowly get to the point where your edge is fully engaged. With FBV, while not a perfect analogy, your edges act more like an on and off switch. There's not that gradual work into the full edge that you have. It's kind of gliding when you're parallel to the ice surface, and the edge catches pretty quick when you're ready to engage it. The transition between the grip and glide that you have is not nearly so gradual, and it's neither a positive or negative, but you're definitely going to have to get used to it. On the actual negative side of things, when you damage one of those edges, one of those fangs on an FBV sharpening, your edge is going to be completely gone. You'll see this behavior with deep radius of hollow sharpenings because the edge has less material, so the fangs are going to be kind of as fragile as a super deep radius of hollow cut, or maybe even more so. You won't be able to go as long between sharpenings. That especially goes for you monsters out there that get your skates sharpened twice a year whether they need it or not. So what if you want to try a flat bottom V sharpening and don't have the option nearby, or maybe you own a Sparx sharpener like me and you don't want to spend $60 before ever skating on a flat bottom V? One way you could test it out before investing in a whole fire ring would be to try getting your skate sharpened through mail. That's what I did.